what is it that keeps bringing you back time and time again?
Crew,
The Windstar family.
the whole family. We feel like they're our family.
Not having a million people on board with you, the level and quality of service and food, everything was just magical about it.
Welcome back to this very special segment about the beautiful destination of Tahiti and how Windstar has been sailing there for over 37 years. Now with me here today, I have a very, very special guest with me because, you know, we've talked to the people of Windstar, and in every single conversation, Tahiti has come up. But it's important for you to hear from our guests and their perspective, especially these guests of ours that have traveled the world and have many choices of where to spend their time. And so I am so happy and so excited to welcome my dear now friend, Tara, who is very well known in the Instagram world as Fabulous Adrift. Hi, Tara. Nice to see you.
Hi, Janet. It's great to see you too.
Yes, and so I am here, as you know, in our headquarters down in Miami, but you are in a very special place. Can you tell everyone where you are today?
I am in Wellington, Florida.
And as you all know, if you've been keeping up with Windstar, you know that we also have a special Windstar at Wellington who's training to be a champ, none other than our Windstar the horse. And he's in the Serenity Farms, which is very near to your location. And I know, Tara, you and I owe you a visit. I know you want to meet Windstar and you want to go to Serenity Farms and see him in action as Kelly trains him to be a champion horse, but we're going to have to figure out that soon.
Yes, it's a neat location because it's the winter equestrian capital of the world.
Yes, and actually we learned that very recently that Wellington is the equestrian capital of the world. So pretty cool that he's so close by to us, and we will definitely be scheduling a visit very soon. So to start off, I wanted to tell our listeners, readers, you know, Tara, you've been around the world. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your first experience with Windstar.
So I was in corporate for a really long time, but I started traveling full time and got really involved in the travel content world about a little over 2 years ago. So I am not a newcomer to the cruising life, but I had never been on a small ship before. Windstar was my first small ship sailing. And honestly, from the moment I stepped on board, I absolutely fell in love. I went, the first time I went on a Windstar cruise was in the winter in the Med cruise, which was kind of a very spur of the moment cruise that you guys were lovely enough to invite me to come on when you guys kind of pivoted and did things differently because things were changing in the world and the destination where you guys were supposed to port out of needed to change there. And honestly, I think it was one of the most brilliant moves that you guys did because winter in the Med is just magical. I absolutely fell in love with the idea. I fell in love with the location. The weather could not have been more lovely. We had the most amazing time on that ship. I left with a ton of new friends. That's where I got to meet you for the very first time.
Yes.
And I fell in love with the small ship sailing, the intimacy of it, and not having a million people on board with you, the level and quality of service and food, everything was just magical about it.
Yeah. You know, it's funny that you say a million people on board, and I giggle because there's not yet a cruise that has a million people on board, but it sure feels like that when you board some of it feels like it when you're making those lines and you see all those people waiting to get on board at the same time you are and getting off. And I think I remember meeting you, and yes, it was on board the Star Legend. Over in December 2023, the ship was supposed to debut in the Middle East, and unfortunately, we all know what transpired in that region of the world that, you know, moved a lot of ships out of the Red Sea, and so many ships would have traveled to the Caribbean like they did. You had many companies who, you know, brought over the ships to the Caribbean because usually in the winter months, cruise lines go over to the Caribbean, but you know, we sat there and I thought, coming from a river cruise brand and knowing how phenomenal a river cruise experience in Europe is all the way through December, and also knowing the river cruise brands are now starting as early as February, I thought, no way are we going to take this ship to the Caribbean, especially a small ship. It's going to take forever to get there. Let's just leave her a year in Europe and see how it goes. And, you know, a year later, I can say, and I can repeat your words, it was the best decision we've ever made. In fact, now other small ship cruise brands are going to be doing the same, I hear these days. And so it's just really exciting to have, you know, really from this very challenging situation created this large opportunity for us, because we also hear about over tourism in Europe. And this has really created an opportunity for people to travel to Europe because they want to see these beautiful destinations and travel to these iconic cities like Rome and Barcelona and Venice, and go when there's not as crowded or as hot. And so it is truly a beautiful destination. And I remember your words. I remember asking you, you know, is this your first cruise? And you're like, no, but I've never been on a cruise this small. And that's pretty phenomenal.
Well, and not only that, but it was never been on a cruise this small, and I had never been to Europe when it wasn't so crowded. And those two things together just made the whole thing brilliant. And I think I remember saying to you, we were at dinner one night, and I said, this idea was just like a spark of brilliance. And it really, it was so just like kismet, everything coming together. I think it was really special.
Absolutely. And, you know, obviously after the first season, it's, you know, usually we go for sale a year, 2 years out. So it was, you know, everything was very close in. So we invited a lot of people like yourself who has an audience to tell the story about Windstar to the world. But I remember right before we got off that cruise that we did have Chris on board, and he immediately, right, said, wait a minute, we're not done here with Windstar, because I think every single person that had been on board was actually new to Windstar. They had never experienced Windstar. They had a fabulous time. And just like we've spoken in other episodes, it becomes a community. And that sad day, which was the day when we were all packing up to leave, and we were all thinking about, wait a minute, we actually like each other and we want to travel again. Let's not get off this ship until we plan our next vacation. And that vacation and that itinerary was Tahiti.
And I'm going to have to tell you something too. So you kept calling Chris Mr. Tahiti. So a bunch of us behind the scenes kept saying, oh my gosh, wouldn't it be amazing if we got invited to go to Tahiti? So when that happened, like we never in a million years thought that that was a real thing. Like we were totally like dream manifesting. So
you totally manifested.
It was like beyond our wildest dreams. Like we were just kind of putting it out there into the universe. So when you guys asked us, it was like we all were out of our minds with joy.
Yes, and I do believe in manifestation. I do believe in putting out there into the world what you all want to do. So for those of you listening in and watching, if you're being inspired by anything we're saying, put it out in the world and make it happen. That's what I say. So we go to Tahiti. That's funny. I didn't know that story. That's a great story. I'm sure we will all listen to this afterwards and giggle about it. But so we all go back to Tahiti. And the reason why we were inviting you back to Tahiti was because all of a sudden we were having the Star Breeze arrive a few months later. The Wind Spirit was departing, and she was on her merry way to Europe. And so we had the Star Breeze arriving, and she was going to start her season. And so Star Breeze is double the capacity. You now have an all-suite ship. And it was important for us to, again, you know, tell the story of the world of how Windstar had been sailing in Tahiti for over 37 years. And now we had this beautiful all-suite experience. You had many guests that were very sad because the sail ship was leaving, and that was their favorite experience in Tahiti. But you also had this huge opportunity. We had this opportunity to bring more guests and introduce them to Tahiti. So do you want to talk about that experience? Because that was quite the adventure.
Oh, yes. An adventure is one way to put it. So we all fly out to Tahiti, and it was honestly the trip of a lifetime in more ways than one, which you'll hear in just a moment. But we were so excited to go see French Polynesia, which is, you know, bucket list, beautiful, amazing. We get out there and we go to Fakarava, which many of you probably have never even heard of, unless you are listening and you're a big Windstar person, because it's just not some place that many people are very familiar with. And I truly fell in love with Fakarava. It was one of the most beautiful atoll islands I've ever been to. Like, imagine the most beautiful blue waters. We had this magical day. We get back on the ship. We're ready to go to our next destination. And over the loudspeaker, the captain comes on board and says, We regret to inform you that there's a cyclone and we're going to have to sail 900 miles away to the Marquesas Islands to get
Yeah.
out of the cyclone. So, yeah, we ended up totally diverting course, going completely out of itinerary or off itinerary. You guys did it for the safety of obviously
Yeah.
the
Yeah, and I just wanted to say, because now I'm going to tell you all. So Tara, up to this point, has said her part of the story. Now I'm going to tell you the part from Windstar. So, we have the captain approaching us and saying, "Hey guys, I know we're all having a fabulous time here. We just had the amazing event in Papiete. We had the president of the French Polynesia welcoming the ship. We had both the captain Belinda and Captain Simon. One ship is bidding farewell and one is welcoming. We have this spectacular event." And we go and we hear from the captain after our first stop, "Hey, listen, there's a cyclone coming our way. And so we're going to have to make some decisions." But luckily enough, after you sail in a region for 37 years, you have a lot of relationships on the ground. And we said we could either stay put, because our next destination was Bora Bora. We can stay put in Bora Bora for 3 to 4 days and let the storm pass, which many other cruise lines did, or we can try and go to another remote destination. Now, you're in the middle of the French Polynesia, and the next destination that was actually away from the cyclone that was heading our way was the Marquesa Islands. And so this is a very remote destination. In fact, it became our maiden call to Marquesa Islands. And Marquesas are so beautiful because it's a very remote destination where it's very hard to kind of coordinate any tours. We really weren't prepared. It's very hard for you to decide on a new destination in a very short period of time. But that's what Windstar was able to deliver. We thought, this is not just about the safety of our guests, but this is also about ensuring that the guests on board have the most fabulous time. And they're not going to have a fabulous time sitting docked in Bora Bora for 4 days with rain. And so off we went to the Marquesa Islands, and that's why the decision was made. And that's why also Hiro Nuri, who we will be having on the segment on Tahiti, the original Mr. Tahiti, as some of them call him, was there on board with us, and he was able to help us coordinate everything that we needed to ensure that the 315 guests that we had on board were able to really enjoy the Marquesa Islands. In fact, we even were able to coordinate a wedding. I don't know if you recall when we arrived to the Marquesas. So it's really fabulous and phenomenal. And I think that the theme that you're hearing here, and I want to get through loud and clear, is that you have professionals leading this company, driving our ships, coordinating everything on board. And so I think when everything is smooth sailing, all cruise brands are an amazing experience. They're great. I mean, it's a hospitality industry, but it's when things go tough, who are the ones who are going to make sure that you have a phenomenal time, and not only that, but in a very safe way. And we truly do have experts, not only on the grounds, but, at home office and on board the ships, that are ensuring that our guests just have a phenomenal time. So if we have to pivot, we do a really good job at pivoting and changing, like we did from the Middle East to year-round Europe, and like we did for that cyclone in Tahiti.
Absolutely. And I don't think that you guys could have pivoted any more eloquently. We ended up, and I'll be honest, I had never heard of the Marquesas. And you talk about manifesting. It's so funny because one of the other creators several of them had flown Air Tahiti New. And
Yeah.
I guess they show some of, they have videos.
The island.
They show a lot of French Polynesia. So several of them had seen information about the Marquesas. And one of them was like, "Oh my gosh, I saw all this stuff about the Marquesas on the flight out here." And I thought to myself, that's where I want to go one day. And so she's like, "I feel like I manifested us going."
Yes.
We sail up to the Marquesas, and I remember opening my window that morning and a literal double rainbow met us. And
I remember that.
The most beautiful thing, because it was like this kind of tragic, like, oh my gosh, we were supposed to be in Bora Bora, one of the most amazing places on earth, and now we're going to this other island that nobody knows about. and what's going on. And everybody was kind of like discombobulated. And we just sailed for like 2 days across the ocean to get there. And we open up the window, and it was like the most beautiful greeting. It was Windstar's inaugural port of call to the Marquesas, and it could not have been a more warm and hospitable welcoming to the Marquesas.
Yes.
It was just really special all around.
Absolutely. And I think that's really important when you're choosing, any kind of experience. It's not necessarily when the going gets tough, who are you going to trust to ensure that they're taking care of you and they're trying their best, right? It's never perfect. It's never smooth sailing. Probably the majority of the time it is, but when things go wrong, and Mother Nature, has her ways, as we all know. And so when Mother Nature
Control.
you can't control. And honestly, I still reside in California, and we all know what Mother Nature has done with the horrible wildfires, and what I live also, I'm from Miami, so with the hurricanes. So when things like this happen, you cannot avoid it. And I think the fact that we can pivot and try and do the best that we can to make sure that our guests just have a phenomenal time. And so I remember very well when we said, well, we can stay in Bora Bora, but the government had shut down all tour activities. And I remember when we finally got to Bora Bora the day, because we kind of rearranged the itinerary, and we spoke to some of the guests, because we got off the ship that day, and some of the guests from another cruise line that had been docked there for 4 days in the rain, not being able to do anything. And we had just come back from the Marquesa. And I think that also was a true testament of, a cruise line that has experience in the region and a very remote destination of the world.
Truthfully.
I'm sure now you've gone to Europe, you've, traveled the world, and you've gone to Tahiti. When you look at our itineraries, what's next for you, Tara? What do you have on your bucket list with Windstar?
Oh my gosh, it's so hard to choose, because really there's truthfully so many amazing destinations. One thing I'll say that is really spectacular about Windstar, I've been on several, especially being from South Florida, Caribbean cruises.
Yes.
And even going to the Caribbean with Windstar would be a special experience, because you guys have the ability to go to several islands that I've never experienced, because you're a smaller ship. So that's even something special. But really, truly, I think I'm so excited about the new Alaska Japan ship that's coming out.
Yes.
Just the end of this year, I think it will be the first sailing of the new Star
Seeker.
I'm like, I was just watching something about it the other day. So that itinerary is like exceptional. Bucket list. I was looking at you guys have the solar eclipse.
Yes. Which sold out in an instant, the solar eclipse. I think we were able, or will be opening up, where I think we're rejiggering an itinerary to try and get more ships out there. I mean, this is a phenomenon that doesn't happen very often. So we definitely want to make sure that as many ships as possible are there to enjoy the solar eclipse.
Yeah. So, and then just in general, like Iceland and Greece are two places that I haven't been. So
I love it. Yes. Iceland's definitely on my bucket list. I haven't been to Iceland yet, but what we were just talking about that actually in our itinerary segment, where we circumvent the island, which is beautiful, because a lot of cruise lines just do a portion of it, but we really do show the best of Iceland to our guests. So that's really spectacular as well. Well, Tara, thank you so much for your time. I know you're a very, very busy lady, and I'm sure you're packing your bags to go somewhere next, but I can't wait to welcome you back to this segment. I really do appreciate, your flexibility. In fact, I hope, we talked about I call it the cyclone cruise, because it was the cruise where we were avoiding a cyclone, but that was the inspiration behind our President's Mystery Cruise, which is happening in April. And so I really do hope that, those guests that just really don't know where to go, just take the jump and try Windstar, because I think any destination that you want to try, I think it's your first one, then you'll fall in love, and then you'll get it afterwards, right?
Spoiled, then you'll never go anywhere else, because Windstar does it right.
Absolutely. Once you do try Windstar, you'll be absolutely spoiled. We'll make sure to take care of that. Thank you, Tara, for being here. Really appreciate it, and hope to see you very, very soon.
Thanks. I appreciate it, Janet.
Welcome back, everyone. I am so excited, because talk about manifesting something really special. So we had planned to actually zoom in two of our very special yacht club members who are very well known in the Windstar community. And it happens to be that our two beloved yacht club members are actually here in Miami. So I will not be calling in to the one and only Ann and Jerry, but they're actually here with me. So welcome, Ann and Jerry, to Miami.
Oh,
thank you
thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
It's
so
great
much.
to be here.
I mean,
Yeah.
this is like so exciting. I'm like giddy happy because when we thought about the podcast and, we really wanted to bring the people of Windstar, and we could not think of two more, perfect individuals to come and talk about their Windstar experience and what do they love about Windstar. Because I cannot even keep track, because every time I see you all, you keep adding number of nights that you've sailed with us. So I can't even say the number of nights, but I'm sure you do. No, you've lost track?
We've lost track.
Okay, that's all right. But I think can I say it's at over 300?
It's around 5.
It's close to 5.
Oh my goodness, I can't even keep track. That's amazing. So over 500 nights on board Windstar Cruises. And not only have you sailed with us for over 500 nights, but you have made amazing connections along the way. Is that right?
Absolutely.
correct,
No
yes.
doubt.
And so if you're part of our Windstar, where it's truly a family, it's your home at sea, you definitely have heard about Ann and Jerry. I had the pleasure of meeting you all in Tahiti. So let's talk about your very first, that was my first time in Tahiti. So would love to talk about your very first Windstar cruise. Do you remember that cruise? And because seems like it was a long time ago. Would love to talk about that.
When we first started, we were on the Spirit. Well,
Okay.
Windstar had 3 ships then,
Okay.
3 sailboats.
Windspirit right behind us.
Yes.
Beautiful.
And the Spirit was there. And
Was this in Tahiti?
Tahiti.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it wasn't.
When we first started, we were always on the Spirit, and the Spirit went to Tahiti.
Oh,
So
okay.
we followed the Spirit
Got
to
it.
Tahiti.
Okay. Beautiful.
But our very first cruise was on the Wind Spirit, and we left Civitavecchia and went to Lisbon.
Okay. So Rome.
And we left Rome and went to Civitavecchia. It was a back-to-back cruise, the first
it.
one. Yes. And we never looked back.
I love it. And now you followed the Wind Spirit. So tell me a little bit about your experience on the Wind Spirit and what made you not want to get off and not try any other one of the ships. I mean, we had the Windstar doing her itinerary. We had the Wind Surf. Why the Wind Spirit?
It was
because it was first. This
Yeah.
happened to be the one our travel agent booked for us.
Okay.
Because it was where we wanted to be.
I love it. Is this the same travel agent that you still use today?
No.
No. Okay. Because I know you're a big proponent. We actually had Diana Rom here earlier
Did
in
you?
previous episodes, and we talked about the importance of really using a knowledgeable professional, to book your Windstar cruise, and the importance of the travel agent. I know you're a big proponent of that as well.
Absolutely. We don't go anywhere without a travel agent.
Yes, yes. And so it's important to know that even after so many cruises with Windstar, you keep going back, right, to your
Exactly.
travel advisor, your professional, and to book that Windstar cruise.
Our travel agent is all about everything for us, and we never do any decision without her, and she is a proponent of Windstar.
Yes.
She keeps us in touch with Windstar. If there's a question, she's on top of it, and she's calling in, making sure
Yes.
that everything is as it should be, and it always is.
And she books your air.
She has booked our air.
Yes, amazing, amazing. So you go on the Wind Spirit, right, and you fall in love with the Wind Spirit, but then she stays in Tahiti. So
We have to
Where-
go. We
You
have to go
ha-
to Tahiti to get there to her. She left us, so we got to go find her.
you got to go find her. So you keep sailing in the Wind Spirit, and I know we met on the Star Breeze when the Star Breeze arrived in Tahiti. So what I'm trying to get to here, is it Tahiti that keeps bringing you back, or is it the Windstar? What is it that keeps bringing you back time and time again?
Crew.
The crew.
Absolutely.
Yes.
The Windstar family.
Yes.
Yeah, that's it, the whole family.
Yes.
Crew, the officers, the home office, everything.
Yes.
It's just, we feel like they're our family.
Aw. And so right now, knowing that we have 6 ships, soon to be 8, how do you choose your destinations? Like, how do you choose the next Windstar cruise that you're about to take when you've kind of pretty much done almost every itinerary, can I assume?
We have. We've covered a lot of the itineraries in our history, and we've had a lot of itineraries canceled because
Right.
of one reason or another. I think that we go by dates, I think, as much as we need to go in the spring, we need to go in
Okay.
the summer, we need to go in the fall. We always go at Christmas and New Year's holidays. So those are kind of our guidelines for when we go, and then what itineraries are available, which ships. And we are very much in tune with where the ships are
Okay.
all the time.
Yeah, so people, I think, go to you, right, sometimes to fact check us, I think sometimes, because we're moving ships all around for various different reasons, like you said, and so I think people are like,
Right.
Ann, is this true? Jerry, have you heard? Are they switching the itinerary once again? I know that definitely. I've seen the chats. I know they check up
Yes,
with you.
exactly.
Well, so I met you in Tahiti. We had a cruise where we had a cyclone and we were evading the cyclone.
3.
So exciting.
3, right? It was 3. I had a guest, Tara, here previously, and she, I talked to her about that. And so you actually were a lot of the inspiration behind the President's Mystery Cruise, and you will be joining us in April
Yes.
this year in 2025 on our President's Mystery Cruise.
Wouldn't miss it for anything.
I booked it on the ship as soon as we, at the dinner table, as soon as we got through talking about it,
Yes,
and he said it's a go.
it's a
So I
go.
went straight to the OCC and. put
Were
our
you
name
guys
in
in the
hat.
table with Chris and Silke when it was being planned
Yes.
that he was texting Stain, myself, and saying, hey, do you think we can make something happen where what if we took a cruise and we didn't tell them where they were going to go and we just called it the President's Mystery Cruise, right? And I think Stain was hosting a table that day with Lucas and I was hosting a table by myself. And I started talking about it with the people on our table. And by that time, we were now getting in a competition who was going to get the first booking for that cruise, right? I remember this perfectly well. And he's like,
Exactly.
well, Ann and Jerry already gave me their credit card and they're already booked on that cruise. So I do remember you were definitely an inspiration for
Yes.
us.
There was another couple. Her name is Nancy, and I can't remember his. But anyway, there was another couple with us, and they are frequent travelers with Windstar as well. And so we just kind of chatting about it and not knowing what our next day was going to bring, and knowing that Windstar was doing such an exceptional job of getting everything planned for us when we got to the Marquesas.
I love it.
It was unbelievable.
And we always say it's not about where you're going, it's who you're going with.
Exactly.
And it's also, it doesn't matter your age. It's about meeting beautiful
the
people.
experience.
Right? It's the experience. And you meet beautiful people that you create a connection with for many years to come. So can you tell me, from all the cruises that you've done with Windstar, right? How many people have you met along the way, and do you stay connected with them beyond Facebook?
There's several. I would say at least a dozen, maybe more. I don't know.
We met our TA on
Okay.
on a cruise,
Amazing.
and she cruises with us occasionally.
Now, and I know there's somebody very special here with
Oh,
us
yes.
here. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so we have a couple here actually who they've come to Miami. This is why we're so lucky to have you here in person. Past guests of Windstar, Yacht Club members that are also here with us today because you all have decided to meet here in Miami. And so how beautiful is it that, you have these relationships and you create these relationships with people that you can then meet up in other places, not just on a Windstar
Yeah,
cruise.
since 2009 when we met.
I love it. I love it. So again, you were talking to people that maybe are not Windstar professionals like you are, and knowing everything that we're doing and everything that sets Windstar apart, knowing that there's so many cruise options for everyone, right? There's a cruise line for everyone, and sometimes we may not be the right choice for that.
Exactly.
Right? And it's okay.
Exactly.
How would you define the Windstar guest? Talk to me like if you were if you were talking to somebody, you're like, oh, you would love Windstar. What defines for you the perfect guest for Windstar?
Well, for me, in my opinion, I think that a person who would love Windstar is a person who is willing to go with the flow because, we can't control everything. Windstar can't control everything. They can't control the weather. They can't control the size of the waves. They can't control what the tenders do. So, you just have to be happy with the place you are and the people you're with and enjoy the service. It's amazing. The crew. everything about Windstar for me is, it starts with, once I board, I see the crew that's there. I recognize a lot of people. And we also look for returning guests that we might have sailed with before. We often meet up with people we've sailed with before. So I think the person has to be adventurous. They have to have an open mind.
Yes.
They have to be willing to enjoy the moment for what it is. And sometimes expectations are not met, but what is replaced is sometimes even better.
Yeah.
So that's what we look for.
Yeah, it's very fluid, right? I mean, you're sailing on a ship that you, weather, when you're sailing on a sailboat or a yacht, right? When we have a boat, my husband has a boat, and it's all weather predict. I mean, sometimes he's all ready to go fishing,
but then,
and that day he cannot go fishing, or some day he, goes all his gear, he doesn't catch any fish. So I think people who love the water and sea understand that no matter how much you plan, things sometimes don't go your way, but the important thing is that you enjoy the ride. Because it is quite a beautiful ride.
It
right?
is. It is.
It is.
The accommodations are wonderful.
Yes.
Food.
Absolutely. And, the service, the food, everything is look forward to it.
Yes. We talked a lot about food, but how about you, Jerry? How would you define like that person that I'm sure you have lots of friends also that haven't cruised with Windstar, and how do you talk about your experiences when you get back home?
Straight up, tell me exactly what it is. But most of them really, think it's a great thing.
Yes.
I don't know. They just,
I'm
trying.
Yeah, no, I know you do, and it's not, to me, I always felt like our guests are our biggest advocates. Like we can do the best marketing in the world, we can release the most beautiful video. It's our guests that talk about our brand, and you guys sell it better than we do, honestly, and that's why it's so important for us to describe how you guys envision it, because sometimes we don't want to be disconnected from the reality. And sometimes what I say to people who want to talk to me about Windstar, they're like, it's not opulent. You're not going to have your very, opulent chandeliers, but it's elegantly appointed. It's beautiful,
very much so is.
Right? It's casual. You don't actually have to dress up, to go to the dining room and wear a suit or a tie, And that I think is also great because it's a vacation where it's easy. It's flexible and it's easy.
That's a very good point.
If you're looking for Circus du Soleil, the Windstar's not for you.
No, if you're looking for a butler, we have an amazing crew that will service your every need, but you're not looking, not a butlers and caviars, there's other cruise lines for you.
And the entertainment is usually very satisfying for us, and it isn't what everybody wants because some people want to see a big show.
Broadway show on the ship, yep.
We love what we see when we go, and
you are
evenings
dancers. You're usually starting off, and dancing around. So I know you like the entertainment because usually you're the first one out at the dance floor. I know that.
Not so much as we used to be, but we try.
I love
change.
We do.
I love that. So the Star Seeker's coming out.
We're excited.
Are you booked on the Star Seeker?
You bet.
Oh, yeah.
Which sailing are you booked on the Star Seeker? Because we've spoken about all of our ships on these episodes, and we talk about the Star Seeker, and we're really excited about her and her Caribbean season, her Japan and Alaska season. Where have you booked?
Malaga back here.
Malaga to Miami.
And Miami to San Juan.
So you're on the very first sailing in which we're going to have guests on board. Okay, I love that. So you're sailing transatlantic to Miami. Then we're going to be 3 nights here because we're going to have the christening. She's going to have her christening ceremony here. And of course, you two are invited. And then she's going to sail off to the Caribbean. Are you also booked on the Miami to San Juan, Puerto Rico?
Yes.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes.
And then are you getting off the ship?
Then we get off the ship,
Okay.
but then we get back on her
Okay.
in, I don't know,
Alaska.
in Alaska.
In Alaska.
To Japan.
Oh, you're doing the Alaska to Japan. I think that one's also nearly sold out. I know John and Carla are on that one as well.
Yes.
I love it. So here you are, ladies and gentlemen. You are meeting 2 beloved Yacht Club members. If you have any questions for them, if you have other Yacht Club members that you want us to invite here in the podcast, please let us know. If there are any last parting words that you would like to have our listeners, if you would like to say to our listeners, we would love to hear you say that.
If you haven't tried Windstar, please do.
You have the privilege. It's a privilege, right?
Right.
Yeah, such a privilege.
And when you go on Windstar, you just expect to be amazed by the camaraderie that you'll find, the service that you'll get, The food service is amazing. If anything you want special, the chefs will make it for you always.
Yes.
So we're fans, and we are happy to be able to say that.
Aw. And we're so happy that you are our fans, and we cannot wait to welcome you on board, and we cannot wait. I'll see you next on board the Star Legend on our President's Mystery Cruise, which he
yes.
himself does not know where we're going, but we're super excited. I know Stain and I are like, we're like
Somebody
keeping-
knows.
Oh no, Stain and I know. Stain and I know, and we're trying to as hard as possible to keep it a secret.
Can
So
you please share that with the captain?
no.
Yeah, the
It is a
captain needs
mystery
to-
cruise. We're going to keep it a mystery, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for being here, and have a
Thank
lovely
you for
time here in
having
Miami.
us.
It's been a surprise and delight having you here in person. Thank you so much, better than a Zoom call.
Thank
Thank
you.
you
Thank
all.
you, Janet.
It really is better than a Zoom call.
It is.
Thank you, Janet.
Thank you.